好，同志们，我们都在晃晃烈烈的站起来，站起来。Welcome to the 298th edition of China Now with your gang of two. Nan Su, who is the senior investigative reporter for Epoch Times, and yours truly, Michael Olson, who long ago was dissuaded from becoming a China hand by the great helmsman himself, Mao Zedong. Each week, Nansu and I look out across the broad expanse of the Pacific Ocean from our home port here at SantaCruzVoice.com, and we ask, China now, friend or foe, war or peace? Ni hao, Nansu.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are.
And we are at all points of the clock, everywhere in the world. So that's a fun place for us to be. Hot takes, Nansu. We're at war, it seems, around the world. There's a lot of hot spots. But in putting together notes for today, I got to thinking all of these hot spots have one place as its nexus, and that's China. I think if it weren't for China funding and encouraging its proxies like Russia and Iran, there wouldn't be a lot of hot spots in the world. What do you think?
Yeah, of course. You're talking about the number one threat. We always talk about that the CCP, it's the biggest threat to peace and humanity in the entire human history. There's no one else over there make impose more threat to peace and humanity in the world than the CCP today. So we need to keep that in mind. And behind, if without the support from Beijing, Russia wouldn't be able to make the invasion of Ukraine lasting that long, and the Iranian regime wouldn't be able to sustain the war against the United States, especially after the U.S. Military start its special operation in Iran on February 28th. They wouldn't be lasted that long. We talked about the last program
Yeah,
that China has been giving air defense missile system, shoulder carry ones to
man
Iranian regime.
pads. Yeah,
Yeah, those man pads, like 400 sets, right? Um, Now, also, of course, North Korea wouldn't be able to last that long. So it's all because of the support from Beijing.
the Chinese Communist Party.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And it was Xi Jinping himself that said the two governments, the two nations are incompatible. If if one uh, succeeds in overcoming the other, uh, there will be no two ways of doing things. There can only be one way of doing things, our way or their way.
Well,
And
Xi Jinping is talking about the common destination of mankind.
mankind, that's
As a
exactly
whole
what he,
mankind's common destination that he designed for everyone.
that's right. And what don't the Chinese, doesn't not the Chinese Communist Party have a saying, we live, you die?
The communism I remember on the Chairman Mao's time.
Yes,
The Chairman Mao's time, then when that was the time I grew up in China, and they always talk about that there was two-thirds of the entire world's population still living in the fire, in the water, and then the working class people they need to save the whole world before saving themselves. So this is what the communist, the slogan has been. Now that was totally broke, after the end of a cultural revolution, people saying, wow, Americans are living a good life, Western world living a good life. They're the one really just live in the water, in the fire. Uh, So
What did Deng Xiaoping said when somebody asked him about his cozying up to America? Deng Xiaoping said, "Well, everybody that does gets rich."
yeah, because they have a good relation with the
Yeah.
United States, right? So they are here just for money, not for change
Yeah.
of themselves, But however, a lot of Americans, just become wishful thinking that maybe we give them money, we'll bribe them to change.
And they'll become like us. It was the era
Right,
of panda love. We were
right.
so infatuated with the idea that we could change the Chinese Communist Party. Didn't work. So here we are in today's world where we have the Chinese Communist Party funding brush fires all over the world, one of which is in Iran, in the Middle East, in the Persian Gulf, and the Red Sea. And the other, of course, is in the Ukraine, with the fight between Russia and the Ukraine. And also, uh, the South China Sea is another area that's warming up significantly thanks to China. So, all of these things are really at the instigation of the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah, it's because China's global expansion, right? As their
Right?
economy keep growing, and then they need to have more. They need to have more market shares around the world, and for their coercive behavior, trade and in economy. So they have to have a very strong military to keep that kind of policy going to keep everybody around China threatened. Like the Philippines, like all these countries, pretty much every country except Russia, bordering China have a border conflict with China. You're talking about Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, India. Pretty
It's
much
like
all
it's
the
like
neighbor
have
have, oh, Vietnam and Vietnam too.
yeah.
So they all have problem with China. Uh, that's
It's
that's
kind of
when
like having a
communist
neighbor.
nation becomes strong. What's going to be the result?
Yeah.
We are seeing that, right?
It's kind of like having a neighbor who has a real mean pit bull on a very short leash, and that pit bull is always nipping at your heels. And sooner or later, you know, the owner's going to let that pit bull off the leash. He's going to come chomp you in the butt. So it's like that in the Asia countries. It's just what they have to live with. Well, right now in the Persian Gulf, we have a little bit of quiet time. We are not bombing the bleep out of Iran as we said we were going to do. In fact, Iran and Oman are said to be working out an agreement by which they can somehow manage the Persian Gulf, the ingress and egress of ships carrying the world's oil. And perhaps there is some kind of development there that would allow for a period of peace. What do you think? Think that would might work?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Well, if you think it might work, but then again, this week they've been shooting up ships going in and out of the Persian Gulf. And who's doing the shooting? Well, it's said to be people claiming to be connected with the IRGC, the Islamic Republican Guard Corps, which is responsible for most of all of the hellfire and damnation that's going on. So, would it work? I don't know. Who's making the agreement with the Omanis? Um,
Yeah, and also the latest, there's been just yesterday, today, there's rumors going around Iranian president, uh, his position is not secure anymore. So, and he's the one leading the negotiation with us. So I don't know what's going to happen next.
well, has there ever been a secure civilian government in Iran? I mean, I can't think of
Well, you're
one.
talking about regime. I mean, that kind of a regime, who nobody, it's Ayatollah that's making the final decision, right?
Or is it the Ayatollah or is it the IRGC?
Well, but I think IRGC is loyal to Ayatollah.
Ah,
I think that's the kind of a power arrangement, that kind of a regime's power arrangement uh, uh, in Iran, right? So eventually, that's the extremist, the ideological approach that's taking the charge. So it's hard to change. It's very hard to change that.
and it's been my guess, and it's only a guess, an opinion, that the IRGC has supplanted the clerics that run the country. I think that the IRGC now is the governing authority that tells the Muslim clerics where to go. That's just my opinion, but
Okay.
uh,
Well, I think eventually it's still that the Ayatollahs that's the making the decision.
okay.
Now, because they are in a very difficult position in the economy, right? So I'm not sure if they actually if the Ayatollah against them, they will have the enough support from their society.
Mhm. Well, given what the IRGC did to their society when the society rose up in protest, um, I'm not sure the society or the civilian population has any say in anything, period.
Well, the society will actually, more or less, right? Think about why they really pursue the nuclear weapon. Uh, because they believe nuclear weapon is a part of their spiritual belief, because they want to destroy the United States and Israel, right? And so, but if the Ayatollah actually not supporting their military, then I think there's a big crack in their power structure.
Hmm. Well, if that is the case, Oman and Iran are said to be negotiating. They each have, I guess, one half of the Hormuz Straits, right? So the Oman controls the south and Iran controls the north. So they're trying to figure out how to work out a deal where they can share responsibility and the ships can flow in and out. Might work, might not. Nothing else has worked so far, so we'll see. Moving on to the Ukraine, something very interesting is happening with respect to uh, the Ukrainians have figured out really how to piss off the Russians. How is that? By torching wildberries. Now, you know what wildberries are,
No.
Nansu? Wildberries is the Amazon of Russia. So the Wildberries distribution centers around Russia control all the merchandise, like Amazon pretty much does here. So what the Ukraine has been doing is sending its suicide drones and crashing into the Wildberries warehouses, shutting down the flow of merchandise and the e-commerce throughout Western Russia. Because there's no distribution centers. They're all catching fire and burning up. So it is the latest tactic that the Ukraine has been using to disrupt Russian society. Another thing they have been doing is been using graphite bombs to shut down electrical power transmission systems. So by uh, bombing a power transmission setup, with graphite. The graphite shorts out the electricity, and when the electricity shorts out, the circuit breakers flip, and the power goes off to those who are getting the power, which is like Russians. So the Ukrainians, who are not bombing civilian infrastructure inside Russia, as the Russians are bombing civilian infrastructure inside the Ukraine, are adopting some tactics that will actually disrupt the Russian people to the extent they might withdraw support from Putin. Possible?
Well, I think the Ukrainian military has been doing great lately, except but they still have some fatal weakness. It's just they don't have enough manpower. That's the problem. So those things that destroy Russia's economy, destroying Russia's supply chain, destroy their oil production factories. Those things it may it may not take as it may not we may not see the result very soon. So it's those are the long-term strategies. The problem is the Ukrainian military just don't have enough manpower to take their territory back.
It really is a David versus Goliath conflict. And Goliath is Russia, of course, and it has been losing a lot of soldiers, but it doesn't seem to affect the effort at all that they're losing so many soldiers in Russia. I guess what they're doing is importing them from North Korea and whatnot, and they just keep right on rolling. But it really is amazing to see how clever the Ukrainians have been at fighting the giant with their little tools like drones. Point of fact, they or Ukrainians just sold the United States a whole bunch of drones. And gosh, what was the number? It was a huge amount of drones that we have purchased from the Ukrainians. And I'm wondering if that isn't going to be, what the heck was that? There.
好，欢迎大家来到看新闻学中文，每天几分钟，让你的中
Well,
文
I don't know
进
where
步
that
很多。
came from.
下面我们一起听一下今天的新闻内容。
I'll have to fix that.
继续发布寒潮蓝色预警，说气温创今年入冬以来的新
Just a
that
sec, I got something brewing. Can you hear that, Nonsu?
Yeah, I can hear it.
寒
I
冷
don't know
Okay.
where it
人
is.
们的热情，冬季美景吸引了许多的游客。
It's a song.
这一则新闻讲的是寒冷天气带来了很大的影响，
Stop.
但冬季的美
You
景
probably
依
need
然
have
吸引
some
了很
windows
多游
open.
客。我们今天
I
会
guess I
一起
do,
讲
but I don't know where it
解
is. Let's
四
see.
次寒潮、
Oh, there it is.
金低、
Okay.
人头攒动。
Now,
Like a
that was some
Chinese
of my research.
Chinese language learning.
That's one thing. I've been thinking I should pick up Chinese again, but then I think, oh boy, that was a lot of work put into that at one
Yeah,
time.
it is, of course. It's a study a language is
Yeah, it is the language. So anyway, the U.S. is buying drones from Ukraine because the Ukraine essentially invented this form of warfare and has done an incredible job of perfecting it. And in watching the Ukraine fight against Russia, I often thought that that would be the model for Taiwan to fight against the invasion by China.
Yeah, so that's the model, definitely. So Taiwan has been developing its own a drone manufacture industry as well as the unmanned submarine. Those are the probably very effective tool to defend Taiwan. And now, yesterday, Japan actually had a new um, defense strategy published, and you also talk about they're going to heavily invest into in heavily make heavy investment into this drone, making military drones and unmanned ships and submarines.
And those and the United States has been also developing the effort, developing the ability to wage undersea warfare with drones as well, and have been doing so for a number of years. So, if and when China invades Taiwan, that strait of water, the Taiwan Strait, is going to become one very active body of water when it gets right down to it. It's kind of frightening when it gets right down to it.
Yep. So that basically it's very important to for them to develop all these weaponry manufactured system to protect themselves. Yeah, some of all these, and it's a lot cheaper, a lot cheaper than they do need to buy some of the expensive weapon system from United States. But however, the Ukraine war has proved that they can do a lot of things without buying from the United States. The very expensive ones, the cheap ones are a lot more effective. And Taiwan has tremendous of manufacture power, and they can do those drone manufacture, those unmanned submarine manufacture very quickly.
And they are starting to ramp up those industries as well. So,
Yes, yes, that's very important for them.
well, okay. The other thing that's been happening with respect to China and Taiwan is that China has started to do regular patrols of the waters east of Taiwan. So this is something that's relatively new. Speculation is that it's a form of their gray scale warfare where they take a piece of water that was typically free for the world to use and take it over. And what China is doing now is sending their Coast Guard boats east of Taiwan and saying, now, this is now our water.
Yes, I think that's a dangerous move that Chinese Communist regime has been doing. Um, Now, interestingly, AIT, American Institute in Taiwan, that's the de facto um, U.S. embassy in Taiwan, and was just last week they post, on their website, they post a photo of a U.S. Coast Guard ship, sailed side by side with Taiwan's Coast Guard ship. And so I think that's a big gesture, singling how much determining the United States, what kind of a strong resolve that we have to defend the safety of Taiwan.
I suspect this gray zone warfare that's going on between China and Taiwan and the United States and everybody else in the Pacific Basin is going to be subject of conversation when Xi Jinping visits Trump in Washington, D.C. in September.
Well, I don't think there will be any solution on that part. Those parts, it's just you will be we are in a situation as good as it gets. That's it. So they'll keep talking, but nothing is going to settle. Um, I think probably we need to make more regulations to 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 ban our technology from being leaked to China. I think that's what we need to do.
Well, that's for sure, because we've been giving him everything since the get-go for 47 years. So that's going to be a subject we pick up when we get back. We're going to take a quick break. This is China Now with your gang of two, Nan Su and Michael Olson. Today we're taking a look at the news that's coming out of the world with respect to China. It comes out all over the world. It's not just in China or around China. Our relationship with China is becoming manifest in brush wars all over the world. So the world is the subject when it comes to talking about China. And with respect to that, we will pick up more stories when we come back after these very brief messages. Welcome back. This is China Now with your gang of two, Nan Su and Michael Olson. And of course, you make a three. So we're going to pick up stories in and about China right now. And one of the more interesting stories that I saw was the missing generals at the annual CCP's military banquet. It's kind of there were a lot of missing generals, and one wonders what kind of war Xi Jinping can put on if he doesn't have any generals left. Nansu?
I think there was only one general that attended the celebration of the 99 years anniversary of Chinese military. That which is their de defense minister Dong Jun.
Right,
He spoke to the. So I look at the report, and not basically no other general attended that banquet, but they do have a there's I don't know. I look at the picture, it must be I don't know, a couple hundred tables,
right.
military personnel. Some of them are retired military personnel. So I think that based on the recent report, Xi Jinping is just, in the recent weeks, start, making new assignments, appointing new generals, promoting new generals into the positions being vacant. So Xi Jinping is definitely getting his way to make to try to make the CCP military more loyal to himself and to the Chinese Communist Party. I think that's actually a dangerous sign, not a good sign. I think that see, we talk about this ever since April 8th. Xi Jinping started, the 整风, what was it? Um, what was the word 整风? The uh, I forgot how to, basically it's periodically they trying to um, to make the military uh, show their loyalty, they secure the loyalty of the CCP military. So back in April, I think it's April 8th, they start this new movement in the military. Um, it's been going on for it's going ratification movement ever since April 8th. So now by now it's like been 4 months. So they're getting some results. The Chinese Communist Party are getting some results from its military. So they are
Rectification. Well,
so
we've talked about the history of the Chinese Communist Party and back to the days of Mao Zedong. That's what they did. Whenever they sensed that the situation was getting out of hand, they would hold rectification campaigns where
yeah.
they rectify everybody and get them to toe the line again. So in Xi Jinping's speech at the CCP military's banquet, He said, the military always obeys the party's command. And it's easy for those of us in the West who are for, we have a military that's loyal to the United States of America. In China, the military is loyal to the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah, it's the same situation in Iran. The
And
IRG.
exactly the same situation in Iran.
Yeah. So, so I think that Xi Jinping is getting his way, and providing that in August that they're going to have the fifth plenum coming. So I think Xi Jinping trying to uh replace all the military generals being purged. So now they have
Did you say the sixth plenum in August?
the fifth plenum in October.
Okay, October. Okay, gotcha. All right.
So it's coming. So I think that and that is the plenum that Xi Jinping is going to prepare for 2027's National Party Conference, on which Xi Jinping plan to continue into his fourth term.
Hmm.
So I think so he's trying to, and he's getting his way actually to make the military ready for that.
Because
Uh,
he's rectified the military to the
yeah,
point
first, yeah,
where
he has to.
the largest military in the world has one general.
That's Well, they currently have actually six generals.
Yeah.
They six now they in the past few years there's like a 38 or maybe 39 generals either being removed or put in jail or disappeared. So now they are promoting a new wave of generals to take in charge. So that's the process. They probably will pretty much finish all these assignments and put a new like a new wave of generals in place prior to the fifth plenum.
Well, it seems like last year, I think, we talked about how Xi Jinping's wife was put in charge of the Army's Office of Personnel to the extent that she would be one of the key people in who would decide who would be the new generals and whatnot.
Well, she's the behind the scene person, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so through this after they go went through this wave of purging, I think they will further secure that the loyalty of the military to the Chinese Communist Party. It's a dangerous sign. It's not a good sign. So
How is
uh,
it dangerous, Nansu?
well, Xi Jinping always, want to going back to the fundamental Marxism, Leninism, and Maoism, right?
Back to Mao.
Yeah, back to Mao's era. So, but however, comparing with Mao's era, Xi Jinping in his hands have a much bigger, stronger economy and much bigger and stronger military. And they got a lot of advanced technology from the Western world, and they have a lot of manufacturing power. We help them basically industrialize the China, and while at the same time we deindustrialize the United States. Now that once he's got his military, have I'm not sure say if I can say a complete loyalty to him, but at least a lot more loyalty to him and follow his direction. You don't think that's dangerous?
It
See,
is
that's
dangerous,
why
yeah.
I always say quit, quit. Just quit all the wishful thinking. Tomorrow, Xi Jinping will be gone. China the Chinese Communist Party will collapse, then all the threat will be gone. We just wake up tomorrow, the world will become perfect again. We need to use every minute that's still available for us to strengthen our military, to get wherever our military need. And I think uh, we need to finish, including finish wherever we started in Iran very quickly,
And
before.
similarly in Ukraine.
Well, Ukraine, it's a European issue. It's not
Yeah.
our issue. Okay,
Okay.
that's what I always think. European, they have 30. We have 30 airlines, NATO airlines in Europe, plus Ukraine. That's 31 countries. Their population probably little more than United States, or at least it's about the same, and their total GDP, it's about also the same with United States, and they are dealing with Russia and China. It's 9 times stronger than Russia, and that we need to deal with. So
Which explains why Donald Trump has been so nasty with the Europeans.
they need to take care of themselves
They need to
instead of
take, yeah,
only. So
okay.
far, they are only taking care of their own happiness index, right? You look at
Well,
the.
let me ask you this, Nansu. I mean, you've been talking about this for quite some time, and I've been pretty much agreeing with you. What would happen if we ignored our military and let it decompose? Would China respect that of us?
Oh, they love to see, if this is going to happen, they will love it, right? They're going to take over Taiwan. They're going to, uh,
We live, you die.
yeah, they're going to take total control of South China Sea, and everybody will be threatened, and they will, if we allow them, eventually they probably going to go take over control of Japan too.
That
If
kind
they,
of takes us back to the Chinese Coast Guard on establishing a permanent position on the east side of Taiwan, which is relatively new. It's something they started this year, and if they establish this position before they go into talks with Donald Trump, the position will be established. It will be a fait accompli. Whereas if they wait until after, it's kind of like they're in the Middle East. There's a saying, "Never let the camel stick its nose under into your tent," because if you let the camel stick your nose into your tent, pretty soon you'll have a camel in your tent.
well, they're testing the will of a U.S. government,
Yes,
and
exactly.
we need to show them our resolve that we're not going to back down. I think it's very important. Uh, uh, that's very important. Also to our allies, Japan, the Philippines, Taiwan, South Korea. So those, it's all very important to them. Now, again and again and again, we need to keep in mind, don't do wishful thinking tomorrow China is going to just collapse, all the threat will be just gone. That's a total mistake we have been making for a quarter century. We think we can change China, and then we think that's a wishful thinking. Then we just start thinking, oh, their economy collapsed, so tomorrow the regime will collapse. Now just look at Cuba, how long they have their economy have collapsed. The regime is there, and China has a lot more military capacity than Cuba. So the threat, it's real. Just quit all the, you know
And
the,
and and the more threatened its economy becomes, the more dangerous the CCP is going to become.
Now in Deng Xiaoping's time, Deng Xiaoping has the strategy also keep their head down and like a
What is
crouching
it?
tiger.
Conserve your energy and hide your strength, or something like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but now they're not doing that. But it's our journalist, the people in the Western world. They are helping them doing that. They say they are collapsing. They're no longer a threat anymore. So that achieved the same purpose. So
And
that's why we.
those are the same journalists we talked about last week, who under the CCP's C100 organizations here in the United States sent journalists from what was it, 2007 to 2014, select journalists to China to show them a good time. And those journalists were all liberal journalists from liberal publications.
That's right.
And those are the decisions. Those are the thought makers here in the United States. They tell people what to think.
So it's dangerous that we need, we do need to realize the threat, and then the war is imminent in the Western Pacific. Japan is preparing for that. Remember, Japan used to have a peace constitution,
Yes.
right? Their constitution basically say they cannot spend more than 1% of their GDP for their defense budget. But in 2022, at the end of 2022, they made a new legislation which they will supposedly increase their total military budget uh, through 5 years continuously increase by the year of 2027. They will double. They will eventually double. But they actually complete in last year 2025. They already doubled. uh, so
Do you think
instead of
Japan
5 years, 3 years, instead of 5 years to double their military budget, they actually did it in 3 years. Now comparing with Japan, just think about all these European countries, what they are doing. I mean, if they lost Ukraine, they deserve it. That's their problem. It's not our problem. We need to focus in the Western Pacific. That's what it is.
do you think Japan's change of heart with respect to its military and its strategy of peace at all costs?
It's to defend their own security.
Yes.
Now,
Do you think Donald Trump had something to do with that change of heart? Do you
um,
think when he was pretty good, close with Abe, wasn't he? Was he
yeah,
not?
yeah. Well, keep in mind the Donald Trump during his first term, he adopted this Indo-Pacific strategy, and that was the strategy which was not designed originally by Donald Trump, but it was designed in 2007. 2007. The
Okay.
entire world, including Americans, that's a year before the spectacular Beijing Olympic ceremony. That the whole world, the Americans, we all lost. We are seeing that, you know. Um,
And that Olympic ceremony, of course, was China's coming out party.
That's right. And but 1 year before that, Enzo Abe, he initiated this so-called Indo-Pacific strategy, which later in Trump's first term he adopted.
Good.
So now, Takaichi, the female
President,
prime minister
Prime Minister, yeah.
of Japan, she basically she think she inherit everything from Shinzo Abe, right? So she's continue very strong, she get a lot of support, on her national security strategies. 70%, 80%. That's a very high support from the Japanese society. So it's very important Japanese society realize how much danger is facing them. I hope South Korea and Taiwan could be the same way, but they're a little weaker than that than Japan.
And China has a lot of influence. The CCP has a lot of influence still over Taiwan because Taiwan has an opposition party that's very much um, dominated, I guess, by the CCP. And
Uh,
it has a robust democracy that allows for that.
right. So I think that we need to take U.S. government need to take a stronger steps to show our resolve. We are the only ones can change that. Um, I think that if we do that, then that's the well, it's not if, if we just need to do it. Otherwise, in the next 2 years, we're going to see things maybe dramatically change in the Western Pacific.
Within the next 2 years.
Yeah.
What was it Xi Jinping said? We have to be ready to invade Taiwan by 2027. Holy smokes, that's just in a few months.
Well, I'm not saying they probably. I don't think they're going to do invasion next year because next year Xi Jinping's priority is to continue into his fourth term, probably in October of next year. The 21st National Conference. Um, so after that, then we're talking about, his military will be all ready, all the law generals will be the handpicked generals that's pretty much loyal to Xi Jinping himself.
We'll
And
do what they're told to do.
yeah, they will be there to do whatever they do. The Beijing want them to do, and then also Xi Jinping will further consolidate its power that controls the Chinese Communist Party. Uh, just forget about just forget about China's economy. Yes, we are happy to see China's economy totally collapse, but think about Cuba, think about Iran, think about how long their economy has collapsed. Are they still a threat?
Yeah.
Right? So that's the problem. See, we are trying to understand the communist regime in the way we understand how things going in America, in the Western world. So that's the fundamentally wrong. So that will lead us seriously underestimate the level of threat facing us in the Western Pacific.
中国和美国不一样。
China and United States are totally different. That's right. It's true. Uh, um, uh, and it's coming to the United States too. Think about this. Why all of a sudden we have a bunch of socialist, democratic socialists coming and running as a candidates. One thing, besides the global economy era, besides we apply the principles of DEI to China, to our enemy, and also it's because China's propaganda. They say the China's model, right? The successful model of China's economy, and then that's why that's one of the major reasons behind. All of a sudden we have so many so-called they claim themselves as a socialist, and then they're coming out to
Take over.
take
Absolutely.
over. See, that's everything. They're coming. They
They
not
are
only
coming.
threaten us in the Western Pacific, they're threatening us in our own
In
country.
New York City, there it
See,
is. And the
But you
interesting
put
thing
all
is,
this together. I mean, if you put all this together, I, we really need to show the CCP our resolve that we are not going to fight to the end. And then we need to show our European allies that, we need their help. If they want to help, they don't want to help us, fine. But at least they need to take care of their own business.
yeah, all of this it would seem is going to be coming to the fore in our forthcoming elections. And so much depends on the outcome of those elections. It's almost frightening. And I suspect that Iran and Russia and China, especially, are focused on those elections and what they can do to have an impact on those elections. So that is something we're going to pick up when we come back from this break that's coming up. This is China Now with your gang of two, Nan Su, Michael Olson, and we're pleased that you're joining us today. We stay tuned for after the top of the hour break. We're going to come back and we're going to pick up a lot of interesting things like the AI war that is now going on between China and the US. So stay tuned. We will be right back after these top of the hour news